with Fela as an insignia, as a symbol.
Don't worry.
And I'm proud of it.
I caught you.
Very proud of it. I don't want to join the rest of them.
Let me thank you so much.
But you see, let's be frank.
Yes.
Before you round up,
Yes.
let's be frank. I think it is time that the governance, whoever they will be that will coming, will look deeper into what we have so that we start to regenerate from ground up the values we hold. Because through this source, we shall feed the world, we shall heal the world, and we shall show the world what true power means. It's not money, it's value, it's essence.
Thank you, Dede. It's been Dede Mabiaku as my guest on this episode of Timeless Conversations. It's been wonderful, Dede. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you.
Chop your knuckle.
Thank you. Yes.
Nice one, Bobo.
Thank you.
One love.
Until next time. See you.
A very good morning to you and thanks for joining us on The Breakfast this Wednesday morning. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Quickly now, there are two very hot topics that we're going to be discussing on the show today. The first is that the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is seeking REP's approval for $8.6 billion 800 million euros external borrowing. That will be our first hot topic for today. And then we'll also be looking at what Bismarck Rewani has said, a prominent economist. He said it was wrong for Nigeria to export crude on forward contract and not supply Dangote refinery. We're going to be looking at that as well as our second hot topic. But also, we will not forget to bring you the headlines from the national dailies that are available to us on what we call Off the Press. So we'll be lifting off the press those headlines to X-ray them alongside our guest for this morning. Once again, good morning and welcome to the program. Like I said, my name is Nyamgul Agaji, in case you've forgotten. So we're going straight away to our trending topics, some of the things that caught our attention in the course of the last 24 hours. First of all is that a gas plant located in the Rumokurushi axis of Port Harcourt, River State, went up in flames early on Tuesday, causing panic among residents and business owners in the area. It was gathered that the incident occurred at about 5 a.m. when most people were still asleep. Residents said they woke after hearing people shouting from the location of the gas facility owned by Hydropet Oil Services Limited. Meanwhile, many residents and business owners thronged out to catch a glimpse of the fire, while some expressed worry over a possible explosion. Scores of policemen and the fire service team cordoned off the area with red lights and prevented vehicles from further accessing the road. And most times when the government says that all these things should not be located where people reside, it's as if the government is too punitive, the government doesn't want people to flourish and all that. And some of these gas stations and feeding of fuel stations are in residential areas, which is very, very unhealthy for the people. I'm not just talking about the health hazards, I'm talking about the possibility of a fire outbreak, just as it happened in Rumokurushi in Port Harcourt. We've seen so many times that things like this have happened, and if these gas stations are close to where people are living, we see the kind of effect it has. So when government says something, sometimes it's just easier to obey the law, obey the rule and all that. I also acknowledge the fact that sometimes these things are cited where it's not a residential area, and because the people want land, anywhere they can get it, they build, and before you know it, these gas stations, these petrol stations are inside residential areas. Whatever be the case, we know that these things are dangerous, and we should try our best to avoid building around them if these things were built outside residential areas. And if we're giving licenses, government as well, we're giving licenses to people to build this kind of things, it should not be where people reside. Okay, so not only that, let me just use this opportunity also to say that when you have land, or if you have land, and you must have to build, whether it's for a kiosk that you want to be selling some things, a shop, or a residential area, never ever build under high tension wire. We've seen so many cases where people lost their lives because their houses were just under the high tension wires. Why do people disobey the law? Disobey common sense as it is, to go and build under the high tension. What if something happens and the wire cuts or something and it drops on your roof? Have you ever considered the effect that might have on you and the people that might be living in that place? So do not build near petrol stations, near gas stations and all that, if they were built outside residential areas. And you trying to build a gas station or a petrol filling station, please do not build it around in a residential area, because the things like these that just happened in Port Harcourt, if it happens in a place, especially in a place like Lagos State where the congestion is so much, where even if you find a fire hydrant, you cannot find a place where the fire service vehicle can enter to go and put off a fire in case of a fire. People build indiscriminately here in Lagos. There is no sanitary lane, as they call it, when they're giving plots. You just find 2 houses, 3 houses, 100 houses modeled together, and then you can't find any room for a fire service vehicle to maneuver to go do what they need to do in case of an emergency. So we should start telling ourselves the truth that we are very indisciplined when it comes to building residential areas, building commercial things like petrol filling stations and so many other things. And if this indiscipline is not removed from us, then all the things that we've been complaining will continue to complain. The other day, there was someone in the studio talking about environmental, the need to clean our environment, the need for us to look critically at the climate change activities that we're supposed to do to make sure that there's no more climate change, or at least we bring the activities that are depleting the ozone layer to the barest minimum. But here we are, still doing what we know how to do best, being indisciplined. It has to stop, and whoever is in charge of orientation should take it seriously, whether it's a formal one, which will be done by the government, the National Orientation Agency and any other government agency, or it is the church or the mosque, people or places where people listen to leaders. All these leaders should take it upon themselves to begin to instill discipline into our people, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're saying. If you're a leader, whether a school teacher, whether a preacher in a church or a mosque, or you're a leader anywhere else, or a parent even, we should start telling our people the need to be disciplined. Okay, so we move now to the next top trending, and that is that the court has adjourned Emefiele's trial to January 2024. That was in the Federal Capital Territory. The High Court there in Abuja adjourned the trial of former Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to Thursday and Friday, January 18 and 19, 2022. Emefiele is facing a 6-count amended charge bordering on alleged procurement fraud to the tune of 1.6 billion naira. Emefiele pleaded not guilty to the charges and was granted bail on Friday, November 17, to the tune of 300 million naira with 2 sureties. He was remanded at the Kuje Correctional Center pending after meeting his bail conditions. A prosecution witness, a top official of the Corporate Affairs Commission, testified at the resumed hearing that Emefiele was not the owner of a shareholder of April 1616 Investment Limited. The company awarded the 1.2 billion naira vehicle supply contract by the CBN under Emefiele's leadership. The witness, whose name was not revealed in court, presented several documents detailing how the company was formed on August 1, 2016. He also read out the names of the company's shareholders, which include Aminu Yaro, Miriam Abdullahi, and Saadatu Yaro as joint owners of the entity. The trial is set to resume on Thursday and Friday, January 18 and 19, 2024. It's getting more and more interesting what is happening there in the courts. But whatever it is, dispensation of justice should always be swift and fair so that we get things done. I've been telling people that if you have the opportunity to be close to a prison and know what goes on in the prison and the kind of people that are held in the prison that will come out tomorrow and be ex-convicts, you will weep. There are people who have spent 10 years, 15 years awaiting trial. That means they have not gone to court and be convicted, but they have stayed in prison for that long. And even if it is something of 6 months, it shouldn't ever be that someone will stay 6 months without trial, without conviction. You just stay there and you don't even know your fate. You don't have anybody who will talk to you. There are people who just walked in the middle of the night and they were arrested and nobody talks for them. You might think that this is just talk, but go to the prisons, hear the stories, look at their files, and you'll be shocked at how many people are languishing in prisons for no just cause. Even if you did commit a crime, there are crimes that will not warrant you to stay there for 10 years without a trial. If someone needs to be convicted, let him be convicted. Give him 50 years, give him 100 years, give him 1,000 years if he needs to. Give him a death sentence even if he needs to be given. But do not keep someone awaiting trial for 10 years, 15 years, even 1 year. I don't think that is fair enough for anybody, no matter how hardened a criminal that person can be. Let them know their fate and resign to that fate. That's what I think. Okay, we also have another one here. This is, even though it is sad, but it's more gladdening than it's sad. Indian workers were greeted with wild cheers and flower garlands Tuesday as rescuers safely brought out all 41 from the collapsed Himalayan road tunnel, where they were trapped after a marathon 17-day engineering operation. So they were trapped in that place, and after 17 days they were brought out. With beaming smiles, the rescued men were welcomed as heroes after being hauled through 57 meters, that is 187 feet of steel pipe, on stretchers especially fitted with wheels, where they were greeted by state officials before embracing their families. Relatives outside celebrated after previous hopes of reaching the men were repeatedly dashed by falling debris and the breakdown of multiple drilling machines in the rescue operations the government said took place in challenging Himalayan terrain. Prime Minister Narendra Modi told the workers in a statement that their courage and patience is inspiring everyone. The health of the workers was fine, with a team of medics in a field hospital assessing them as soon as they were brought out. After repeated setbacks in the operation, military engineers and skilled miners dug the final section by the hand using so-called rat technique, a 3-person team working at the rock face inside a metal pipe just wide enough for someone to squeeze through. Now, Indian billionaire Anand Mahindra paid tribute to the men at the rock face who squeezed into the narrow pipe to clear the rocks by hand. Before Tuesday, the workers were seen alive for the first time last week, peering into the lens of an endoscopic camera sent by rescuers down a thin pipe through which air, food, water, and electricity were delivered. Arnold Dix, president of the International Tunneling and Underground Space Association, who had been advising the engineers, told reporters ahead of the rescue that the men were in good spirits and that he had heard they had been playing cricket. So it's a very, very interesting story. It's very heartwarming that these people have been rescued. But when things like this happen, I don't know, I just ask myself, if it happens in Nigeria, will these people have the same benefits that those people in the Himalayas had? Will our people be able to rescue people who are trapped in a tunnel like that after so many days? Can they feed them like they were feeding these people in the Himalayas? Can they make sure they have air to breathe in this length of days? Can they make sure that every other thing that they need to get to them will get to them, and then eventually they are rescued? 17 days. Well, so while I keep asking myself how prepared Nigeria is for emergencies such as these, I'm just hoping that the present administration and the subsequent ones will be looking at long-term plans and then looking at critical sectors of our economy, looking at critical infrastructure that need to be put in place, critical equipment or anything that we need in everywhere to do the things that we need to do. If there is a fire right now, how many firefighting vehicles can put out the fire? In some places you go to, some local governments, you see fire trucks just standing there. Some of them have no tires. If you go around, I don't know about Lagos. Lagos seems to have a working fire service, but if you go to some other states, I've seen many places where you find a firefighting truck, just standing there without tires. Some of them, the tires are deflated or something, and they're not working. So you find out that when there is a fire, they rent a tanker, an ordinary tanker. They will now go to the river or anywhere that there is water, get the water while the house is burning anyway, get the water and then come and try to be putting out the fire, which you know that the devastation will be so much by the time that they arrive there. So people resort to self-help. When the house is burning, some throw pure water into the house, some fetch water from anywhere to try to put out the fire. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So what is the way forward? Is it because of monitoring? Is it because our people are greedy? Is it that money is never voted to these firefighting outfits? Or what really is the issue? Why would we have something like that? You know, it's like a hospital being without a single syringe or a single tablet or a single personnel, but the house is just there looking at you. You get sick, you either go to a native doctor or you go to a quack or you go to somewhere that you can get some help for yourself. The name is just a name, or a signpost that is just showing you the way to somewhere that will never move or give you a solution to anything. This trend should stop. Our Nigeria is a place that we should be proud of, and we beat our chest and say, yeah, I'm a Nigerian. The can-do spirit in Nigeria, we should also have at the back of our minds that everybody needs to contribute to make sure that our Nigeria is as great as we want it to be. When you see something, say something. And also I will add, when something is being said, act on it the way it is said to the authorities. I'm saying this because it's not enough for me to see a crime, for instance, and report it. What happens after I report? Will I get arrested like it happens sometimes? I report a crime and I'm the first suspect and all that. It happens so many times that some people will never report a crime because they feel that if they do, you see an accident victim on the road, you want to take that accident victim to the hospital, but you're afraid of the consequences. What if that person dies? What if I am accosted by the police on the way to the hospital? What if? So things like that, we should look for the root cause of all these things that happen in our country, see how we can address them and make our country as great as it can be. So those are the top trending issues. We are going to take a short break. When we return, we hope to be joined by Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner, to be looking at the headlines together. Stay with us.